welcome back to our channel. Today we are going to review Godfall, a PlayStation exclusive.
Yeah, this game is. I don't know whether to say it's good or god awful, bro.
It's a good
The
way to start out with Godawfull. Um,
or let's head into the goods. Um, the good of this game is the performance of it. Playing solo is just honestly, it captures what the PS5 is, capable of. Which obviously we're going to see the PS5 progressively get better over the lifespan of the PlayStation 5. What is this game to me? A $70 game? Maybe a $50 game for the premium package, but not a $70 game. The graphics are great. The performance solo is great. The different types of melee weapons is cool. What do you think?
Definitely, this is different style of game because this is a game that basically has no guns. It's basically melee weapons. So the performance of how they did that is great. I mean, they really made that little transition really well. Um, the it's the performance is really great. You could see that they really worked on it. There are some issues that they have. I mean, the multiplayer performance really lacks when you're playing with somebody else. Either you or are having issues, or the person you're playing with is having issues on their end. Um, but you know, yeah, I do agree. This game for $70 game is kind of pushing it. I'd say $50 game is about right for a price for this game. Um, you do have to like about the open world though in this game. It does have a good open world.
It's kind of boring though. It's beautiful and everything's shiny and it like I said, it definitely showcases the PlayStation's capabilities, but like the world feels empty. It's beautiful, but the world feels
it
empty. It's
feels it
like
feels repetitive. I see what you're trying to say. It feels like you're just
it feels like being in New York and there's no people.
or in a pandemic like we are right now. Um,
So, um, other than that, let's go into the bads then. One of the biggest knacks that I have about this game, and it like with all things that are considered, one of the biggest things I'm not particularly liking is no animation canceling. So if you swing, you're committed to that swing, and even if that swing misses, the opponent that you have has the upper hand and will be able to slingshot at you. Games like Ghost of Tsushima and Zelda all have animation canceling. Immortal Phoenix Rising has animation canceling, but this game does not. You go into a swing, can't cancel it out. Can't save yourself from a mass attack blow from the left or the right or behind you because you committed to that swing. Another problem is the HUD. I don't know if you noticed, but man, the HUD, like, to indicate where all the enemies are, is microscopic. You like have to like have a microscope just to see the HUD.
yeah, they really lacked on the HUD. I mean, and sometimes even the HUD would kind of confuse you as well. Sometimes you think the enemy was in a certain direction because that's where it looks like it's highlighted, and in actual fact, it's actually not. It's in a different direction of you. But yes, the HUD really does not make things easy. Um, the animation canceling really is a problem especially when you're fighting the like a boss, and you're going in and all of a sudden you can't cancel out and you get thrown back and you take some major damage.
This game was supposed to be like a more than a showpiece than it is. They could have honestly done better. We all know that. For those who have purchased this game and reviewing this game, but we can honestly say that this game is not a $70 game. I can kind of forecast this, but this may end up going PS Plus. If you are listening to this, you need. I would just wait. I wouldn't buy this. I would try to catch it on PS Plus and get it for free. $3.99 is the best way for this game.
Or try and see if they actually sell it on a deal.
And that's the thing, though. They tried that during the holiday sales, and it wasn't even that much of a deal. To be honest, like it was like right at the price that we were seeing was $50. Seems about right for this game. And that was basically what the deal was. It was a $50 game. But at $50, I'd rather go buy Dirt 5.
This had a very high hype to be a great game when it was announced and we saw the trailers, and both of us were really really excited to play this game. And yeah, I mean, I see where they were going with this game. I mean, it's an all melee weapon game. I mean, you got just different types of weapons and stuff, but it gets repetitive in like what you have to do. You have to go out there and kill this certain boss, or you have to go out there and just kill this many enemies, or it kind of gets to the point where you're like, where's this going? I mean, it feels just like we're just doing this over and over and over again, and it gets to the point where you kind of like want to put the controller down and go, need a break.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Let's talk about the bugs of this game. I didn't really encounter too many bugs, but like enemies that were supposed to disintegrate their bodies were still there, or like pieces of their body were still there. Um, the bugs with the multiplayer where you're in the world with them, and like items that are within the world that you're collecting won't disappear, showing that you've collected it, but it's still there. Like, why is it still here if I collected it?
Yeah, the multiplayer part is the real problem. They're showing collectibles, but the collectible is showing for both people, but it should only show for the designated person. So if only the collectibles for that certain person, it shouldn't show for the other player. It's showing both people are seeing it, but only one person can collect it, and it shouldn't be like that. It should be if someone already collected it, they should be still seeing it. It should be gone on their side. The multiplayer has too many bugs. There's times where you get some lag. There's times where you get a little bit of frozen moments, or
Crashing can happen when you're in the middle of playing with them. All of a sudden, your game will crash, or you'll
yeah.
crash to the menu,
Oh yeah.
and then you're going right back in it and having to invite them. It's like in the old phrase, it's a killjoy. It literally just it sucks the life out of you. It's like being so immersed into a game that they just go, well, guess what? You're going to the menu. Guess what? You're going back to your main hub of your PS5.
And the thing is, this game, playing it with a friend actually is a lot more fun. When the time we actually played this together was actually really really fun, because you're playing it with a friend, and you're going through this whole battling everything and fighting together. It's really really fun. But when you're hitting the bugs with multiplayer, and you got the crashing, or you got the lag, and you got the skipping, and all of a sudden it'll freeze on you. It starts to take the fun out of it, and you're just kind of like going back to playing it by yourself, and it takes the fun out of it.
You know what though? Like, another thing I would notice about this game that literally To be honest, they could have done a much better job with was the Valor plates. The Valor plates feel almost useless, like not noticeably a difference. It's more like a skin than it is an actual like change into how you would approach each encounter. Each encounter just feels like, oh, okay, well, I don't have my super ability yet, so I'll just go in, guns blazing
Um,
and just attack these guys. They didn't do enough to make the Valor plates feel essential and useful. Like you get that sense of usefulness once that super ability is fully reached. But outside that super ability, they're just basically cosmetic.
there are a few of them that have that aren't just cosmetic, but yeah, the majority of them are basically like having a skin. I mean, yeah, it does change
No,
it,
dude, they all are. Here's why: they're all cosmetic because they all apply to the actual super ability. Without the super ability, is just basically a suit because you don't have other abilities like a grenade or a special swing type or something with that specific Valor plate. The only thing you get out of it is a special ability. Oh, this special ability allows you to attack for higher damage. This special ability allows you to spawn these types of enemies to do additional DPS on enemies. Um, this Valor plate allows your swings to be poisonous. This Valor plate allows your sword to do flame damage. Like the amount of changes only apply to the super ability. There's nothing outside the super ability that defines these Valor plates as different. Like, okay, well, if they instead like a couple of these Valor plates like had just one of them had a shield, the other one has, I don't know, like an Assassin's Creed blade or something that he could shoot from his wrist or something. That'd be really cool idea. It just would give more of an option of different ways to approach these situations at hand when you're in a battle. You don't get that when you're just running around with the same equipment, but the only time the scenarios change is, oh, I have my super ability, boom, and then for about 15 seconds, you're different than the other Valor plate you were just using. They just don't incentivize different changes. You could literally play the same Valor plate throughout the whole story and just say, "Oh, well, I didn't have the necessity to go out and chase these Valor plates."
yeah, yeah. You got a point on that. I mean, it do have the super that does change with each valid plate, but yeah, unless you build it up to it, it basically is just a skin. Um, that we're talking into it. Let's get into gameplay. Um, the gameplay in this game is actually fun. It is great. You got it's basically pure melee. You got different types of melee weapons. You got swords. You got spears. You got heavy weapons. You got heavy melee weapons
Like a long sword. They have all these different types of weapons.
and
The
then
only the only criticism of this, to be honest, is the fact that even the weaponry feels so basic. You could literally just play with the same. Like once you get used to a certain type of weapon fighting, you could literally stay with it throughout the life of the game. They don't like incentivize um, build qualities. So like if I wanted better, like okay, because we're talking like the true RPG element of this game. The true RPG element of this game is so basic. It's so bland when you take into consideration other RPGs. Let's give it for instance because it's the same company. Because Gearbox, Borderlands, each gun you get is shows that you are progressively getting better and the builds are getting different. Okay, I got this amount of DPS, but this gun also comes with poison damage. And this poison damage versus the last poison damage weapon is by 25%. They don't emphasize hard enough on these build qualities getting better. They It's non-existent. It's like, oh, okay, well, I got this new sword. Let's try it out. and then you find out it's really not much different from the last sword I got.
Yeah, they do have. It is a problem with the weapons. I mean, it is cool how they have different looks to them and all that, but it is the problem that they basically, if you just stick to one, you could basically just go through the whole thing with one type of weapon. Um, they do have the,
To me, it's an overpriced Warframe, and to be honest, Warframe is better. I would rather put hours and hours and hours into Warframe than put hours and hours and hours to Godfall, because Godfall has an end. Uh, Warframe, you could it's has so much more content, obviously, because it's been around so many more years over Godfall, but it's basically the same shit because you're basically chasing plates, you're chasing better builds. At least the when it comes to Warframe, the builds are actually like essential. They feel great. They feel, they build your character up,
they're
and
beneficial.
and yeah, they benefit your character and they benefit your experience. Like it, I mean, I guess I understand why Godfall is Godfall. I mean, it was basically a tech demo for the PS5. That's all it really is. It's to showcase the graphics, showcase the adaptive triggers, which they utilize very, very well. I'm not going to put that down. They utilize the adaptive triggers very, very well. When you start swinging with R2 with heavy attacks, let's just say you're using a heavy sword, you start to feel the stamina kind of coming down on your character, and that trigger's starting to get more stiff.
Sure.
Like they utilized it very, very well. A lot of games now are starting to actually see that the experience of players are feeling when you're using the PS5 controller is actually showcasing that this is what it's going to be like on the PS5. This is great.
It definitely does have its little lack of problem in that area. Um, uh, but they do have a broad stuff of on the add on the characters. You got the shield that pops out for defending yourself, which is kind of cool. How they have that popping out. It's really cool. You get you have
And yeah, animations are great. I totally agree with that. The animations feel great. They don't feel overwhelming. They don't feel underwhelming. Totally agree with that.
then you got the emblems and you got the necklaces and the staffs and stuff that you could put on the ground to help your character
So
out.
the
How the
banners, yeah,
banner, yeah,
the banners are great. The banners add just an element to where you can kind of stand your ground or stand your ground with your friends, or stand your ground by yourself and make yourself a little bit more competitive against boss fights or bigger battles with a bunch of more enemies. That was a pretty cool element, but it still makes you feel like this game doesn't really have too many elements to it. It feels so one dimensional versus like if you play, I don't know, Destiny, and you're playing by yourself and you can kind of see that there's more than a one dimensional feature to it. Like you can come in guns blazing with a rocket launcher, you can come gun blazing in with a sword, or you can go, you know what, I'm gonna pop my super.
yeah.
This is like it takes 10 years, it feels like. I know it's exaggeration, but it feels like it takes 10 years for that super ability to build up, and then you just go into a battle and you're like, oh. And then you find out that the super ability really didn't help much because you could have just done it by yourself without the super ability. Outside of that, um, the story to me seems really bland. I mean, the story gets you pumped. Like when you first see that first scene, the first scenes that you see before you start the actual initial gameplay, makes you feel like, oh, this is going to be a badass story. It's two brothers. One basically fucks over the other brother to take over the kingdom, and you're trying to make your way back to the kingdom to take your brother down and take the kingdom back. And then when you like as you're progressing through, it's like you're talking to Cortana and then this dude who's got a massively oversized scroll on his back throughout the whole story. And it's like you walk up to one dude, he's like, yeah, totally. The next dude, you're like, yeah, totally. And then you're like, okay, well, go, and then like you'll get this like mission. I'll go kill like 4 of these enemy types. They go out there, kill 4 of these enemy types, and like you feel like, okay, the mission's over. Why am I not back at the main hub? Then you gotta fucking, sorry for the language, cut that piece, but you gotta go transfer yourself back to um you gotta transfer yourself back to the main location to talk to these two people again, and it's just it's a wasted piece of element that they could have just, instead of having like to walk up to 2 different people to get a storyline going, why didn't they just initiate a whole story sequence right there and just like a cutscene? Or why didn't they like like have you only talk to the scroll dude to find out who you needed to kill, instead of having to go back and forth, start the mission?
You do really that part really is a bothersome thing because it instead of it like after you're done with the mission, it really should like cut it, and then all of a sudden you should go to a cutscene, and it takes you back to your HQ, to your hideout, and then you start like a cutscene and have like a big conversation and stuff. But it doesn't. It kind of just doesn't. It just you have like a regular old conversation, and there's like nothing special about it. And then all of a sudden, okay, next mission pops up. Okay, you gotta go here, and you gotta kill this big, you gotta kill this boss, and you got it does. There's no real way to actually pull you into the story and keep you kind of like, oh shit, I gotta get this story. I gotta get this going. This is fucking awesome. This is fun. Sorry for the language, but it's just great. I got to play this. I got to continue to play this. But no, you start playing this, and all of a sudden you lose interest really really quickly, to the point where you're like, you know what, I got to put this controller down. I got to switch games because I can't. This is it's
There's
dragging.
no immersive. What you're saying is there's no immersive quality to the game. You don't just, it doesn't hook and draw you in to, like, for instance, like another RPG like Resident Evil, or um what's another RPG that we're
Well, wait,
playing?
with this game will give you a
There's
feel
no
of like Destiny, because it has the way you build out your character. Like you have the looks and stuff, and you can.
there's a lot of games that this feels like a hybrid of, which
But
kind of, if we really want to get into it, it's like, I hate to say it because it's nowhere near, and never going to be near. It's like Destiny meets Gears of War meets Warframe, because like the movement quality feels like Gears. Like when you're that third part, that third, third, um,
person,
yeah, the third person screen, the way that the camera kind of hovers over the character gives you that essence of like how you feel with Gears. Like the way it hovers, the camera hovers around behind the character feels like Gears. The build outs feel like Destiny, and the fighting in itself is Warframe. To be honest, minus the guns, because the guns in itself are the best part about Warframe, because at least it's not one element. You're not just going out there with your sword just hacking and slashing. You're, at least when you're hacking and slashing, you have the alternative of saying, I'll whip my shotgun out, or I'll whip my pistol out. There's a lot of elements in there that could have been built in. It doesn't. These gameplay things don't hinder our score, but there are elements that could have been thought of or maybe implemented in. No one would have judged them to add in some extra stuff, and but there was no sense of false advertising in Godfall's sense. They didn't false advertise anything. It's just, it fell short of the public standard of what they would have seen in an RPG game, and what they're used to from Gearbox. When we think of Gearbox, the first thing that comes to most people's minds is Borderlands.
it didn't seem like they fully dropped the ball. It just seemed like they uh just didn't.
By far, though, by far, I'll definitely say this. By far, It wasn't the worst game that came from these next gen consoles. It was not the worst game. There are a couple games that go in that list so far, and there's several factors that you can implement into this why these games are so bad, but that is no excuse. Why release games with bad quality? In Godfall sense, it wasn't that the quality was bad. It's just they didn't implement enough into the game for depth for people who are like that want to immerse into it, like me and you back in the day with Destiny 1, where we've dumped hundreds of hours in that game because we were so immersed in the thought of the guns and the different things that we could get. We need to do this. We need to be immersed in getting this now. But uh, that's non-existent in Godfall sense. But it's not that the quality was bad. The quality is great. Like I said, it showcases the PS5.
It really,
It
yeah, it
showcases
really
it,
did.
it really showcases what the PS5 is capable of. I can't wait to see what the PS5 is going to be like 3 years from now and what they're going to be capable of doing.
Yeah, it
Imagine the games that are going to come out when you think of Godfall. Imagine the games that are going to come out in the next 3 to 5 years.
it's true. It wasn't a bad game. It just it seemed like it was a half cooked game. It was a game that they had like a good concept with. Good idea. It was a great idea for a game. They lacked some creativity. They lacked something. They just lacked something to actually pull a player into wanting to put hours into this game. It was just
Or just
nothing.
having a massive community. The community, I'm pretty sure, is not massive in this
No,
game. The community is probably no more than a couple thousand. Which
this game when it first
should be
came out, again, it was a game where people like really wanted to play it and people were playing it. I saw people, recording and playing video. I see videos of people were playing this game. It was a game where like when you first started, like, wow, I got to play this, and then you put in some hours into this game and you got to the point where you're like, okay, you know what, I got no more to put into this game. I think I'm done, and you got to switch games because there's nothing to pull you in. It once you get to a certain point, it's like, you're just using the same setup and or same character because you also gotta you have to collect all this stuff to unlock the character you want to, and it's a lot of a lot of content, but not a lot of luster behind it.
But with all that we think about when we think about good and bad, when we talk about this game really could have been a true special situation if they weren't in such a rush to put it out. I totally get why they did, because probably Sony's sitting there over them like, we need another game to put out with the PS5 or sales are not going to skyrocket. We need another game to put with the PS5. Demon Souls is not going to hold up their end. And Spider-Man is probably, dude, it's a 6-hour game, and they know that people are going to be like, oh, this is all Sony's really got for us on release.
Yeah, except for that game, they always add DLCs for it. So, but yeah, I know what you're saying. I'd say for the actual gameplay of the game, I would say it's a good high 8. But for story, the way the story is and the way the you go through the whole campaign, it really drags it down.
To me, it drags down to like a 6, because multiplayer in itself, like the elements that they built into the multiplayer were just not standard to what the public would have wanted. I mean, granted, we are taken to this in the situation that we have not gotten a DLC out of them yet. We haven't gotten anything from them yet. So obviously, right now, this is where it sits right now. At the time before, who knows? Me and you might end up doing another video when their next DLC comes out and they have more content to show for in this game. But right now, this game is not something that anyone should pick up at the $70 price tag for entry level on this game. They should wait, hold out for a sale. If the sale's good enough, if not, wait for Sony to say it's a PS Plus game.
Definitely in agreement.
For PS5 owners. If I were anyone listening to this right now, wait, hold off. Go. Being that said, let's talk about the multiplayer for a minute. It's good and bad because you can enjoy going into scenarios with your friend or friends, depending on who you're playing with and how many friends you have. It's a great situation to be in because you can go into a battle not feeling alone and just wipe out a bunch of enemies together. It's a good game for people who want to be able to just explore a world together. Great for that.
It does. It just lacks. It lacks the pull you in as well in multiplayer.
The connectivity of it is a problem. The lacking of content. It's the co-op. The only thing that sucks is there's no dedicated co-op part to it. It's just basically doing the story along with each other. Outside of that, this game has nothing. And their promise to the public before Godfall came out was that they were supposed to have a lot of endgame content. What endgame content is there, bruh? You play it for a couple hours of what they call an endgame content, and you put the controller down, and you're like, I wasted $70.
Yeah. You just feel like you feel like why did I just waste this money for when I to play just a couple hours on this game, and
I'm referring to once you reach the ending of this game when you're like, okay, it's done, and then there's end game content. You may play it for a couple hours, and you can be like, nah, I'd rather go play COD.
The content in this game is not what you'd hope.
To be honest, I think they could have gotten away with, as much as people will probably disagree with this, is I think they could have gone with a player versus player in this game. Dude, why not?
With the different characters, yeah.
You have the ability to, and you have these super abilities. The super abilities are no different than someone playing Destiny, for instance. Someone walks in and just Nova bombs the crap out of your team. Next thing you know, your guy comes back and you just straight dunk on fools, throwing out your flame swords or something. This could have been so much bigger. This really could have been so much bigger. Now, time for the 2-man appraisal score.
6.
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe.
And stay tuned for more content.